So welcome to the LeetCode series. So the problem today we are going to solve is called contains duplicates. So it's an easy problem. So let's look at the problem statement, which is given an array of integers, find if the array contains any duplicates. So your function should return true if any value appears at least twice in the array, and it should return false if every element is distinct. So yes, it's an easy problem. So one of the brute force approach which you can actually start is by starting with the first element and traversing the whole array and looking for the duplicates. So if I start with 1 and if I look for the duplicates, I'll get 1 and I'll return true. And similarly, for example, let's take this example. So what happens is here we start with 1, we iterate over each element and look for the other one, and if we don't get it, we move to the next element 2, then we fix this value and look over for every other element, similarly for 3 and similarly for 4. But this approach would take us O of n square again, which is not good. So we'll try using any different approach which will actually give us the answer in complexity of O of n. Okay, so in order to get the complexity of O of n, what we can actually do is make use of dictionary again. So dictionary has key and value pair, right? So what we can do is we'll start with the first element. We'll start with actually an empty dictionary, and we go to the first element and we check whether that element is present in the dictionary or not. If it's not present, we'll insert this and make the count equal to 1. Similarly, we go to 2, then we'll add another element to the dictionary and make its count to 1. Similarly for 3, but now whenever we come across with the element which had already appeared, we'll look for it whether it exists in a dictionary or not. So if it exists, it means that we have a duplicate, and if it doesn't, we'll return simply false. So this is the approach which will take us our complexity from O of n square to O of n to linear complexity, and this is the approach we are going to use now. So let's start coding it and you'll probably understand it more clearly. So let's start with it. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is, as I told, I'll create a dictionary, an empty dictionary. So I'll not write anything in it. Then for every value in my nums array, I'll iterate over it and I'll see if my dictionary dot get gives me that value, and that's equal to none. So if you remember, I told you that uh, if I use this get function, I'll get none if that value isn't present. But for example, my array is my dictionary has 1, 2, and that's it. And I write something like dictionary of 3, and whenever I try to print this, it will return an error. So in order to avoid that, what we do is use this get function. So what this get function does is that if that value isn't present in our dictionary, it returns none. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll switch and we'll use get instead of indexing. And what I'll do is I'll write, so what this statement is, so if dictionary dot get value equal none, which means that the dictionary doesn't have that value. So what I'll do is I'll add that value in the dictionary and make its count equal to 1. Okay, else. Now else part is when the value is present. So if that value is present, this means that our nums array contains a duplicate. So what I'll do is I'll just return true. And if my whole iteration goes over and my whole nums array is traversed and I don't find anything, that simply means that we don't have any duplicate, and I'll return false. So that's the code, and we don't need anything else, and this will give us the answer in O of n complexity. And let's test it and see whether the code runs or not. Yes, it runs, and let's submit it. Fair enough. So I've get the answer, and my runtime is 124 milliseconds, and it's faster than 20.80. So yeah, this is the solution for it. So yes, we'll always try to bring our complexity down if possible, and if the complexity is O of n square, we'll try to get it in at least a linear complexity. So that's the whole solution for it. You could try this, and yeah, that's it for the video. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.